As we sit here tonight, we call upon the sacred light of Source, the divine feminine and the divine masculine. We call upon our spirit guides, angels, ascended masters, light beings, and galactic guides. We call upon our ancestors, nature spirits, and animal guides. We invite in Archangel Michael, Naisimha, and Hanuman to protect us in this sacred space as we journey. We call upon Ganesh to open the path, and we call upon Thoth, the keeper of wisdom, the Akashic records, and time. Spirit guides, we ask you tonight to send us messages of this time of year, to connect with the winter solstice, to honor the cycles of light and dark. We ask that you send us information on what you can teach us about this time of year. What can we learn from hibernation and stillness? And what can we nurture during this period that will help us prepare for the coming of light? Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, the sacred circle is now open. Namaste.
I see a bird of prey. I see talons, but the talons seem like they're iron or metallic. And I see the bird of prey in mid-flight and the talons getting ready to dive down and pick something up, pick up prey. I think it's an eagle, and I know a raven is not a bird of prey, but I also feel like there's raven energy in there as well. I'm done.
I was getting, as Jacqueline was opening, I was seeing like ice on window, like almost like you look at ice up closer under a microscope where you can see the crystals on it and the sort of different patterns as they form. And I could see light coming through the window, but not much else. And it was feeling like it was morning time. And the more light comes through, the more I can see out the window. And I can kind of see the sky, and I feel like I know that in the sky are the birds that Kristen spoke of, because I can hear them. I can hear this sort of like sharp, sort of like, I'm not going to try to reproduce the sound for anybody. I don't think I could, but this sharp sort of like screechy sound. And when you say bird of prey, but the raven energy does feel right to me. Because I feel like I'm seeing black feathers. And as I look at the black feathers, I can see that it's got this underside of green to it and this little bit of silver. So like the black is actually like colors at the same time. It's really interesting. It's almost iridescent-ness to it that's catching the morning light. That's all for now.
Yeah, I see blue skies and again, mountains in the distance, snow-covered mountains, blue skies as well. That's all.
You know, it's interesting as you say the skies and the mountains. I'm getting this sort of feeling come across my head. It's almost the quickest way I can describe it is I almost feel kind of lightheaded. And then it reminds me of, I don't know if anyone's ever been in one of those like really small four-seater planes where you literally like you feel the wind, like you don't stay straight in those planes, you kind of just like go back and forth. It's kind of like being on a boat. That's the feeling I have right now. And it started out on my head, but it's slowly working its way down my body. I can feel it on my face and my shoulders, and it almost has a element of numbness to it, like the way when you have a few drinks or like you smoke or something, it starts to like kind of come over you.
It's interesting that you mentioned planes because, again, the talons of this bird of prey were not organic. They were metal. I feel like there's a meaning there. That's all.
It's interesting. I don't know if I'm going into my logical head, but I had a conversation the other day with a friend of mine about the thunderbird. And I'm thinking of that right now. You know, the large black bird that is from Native American mythology that kind of, depending upon the stories, it kind of has different associations. But when it flies by, like all of a sudden the sky becomes dark because the bird's so large and so dark that you can't, it blocks the sun out. That's all for now.
I think I got like a little picture of like a bald eagle kind of like soaring like down. Again, I'm not sure if it's like my logical mind, but I kind of like had a vision of it like kind of going toward water, like I don't know. And that's all.
Definitely a bald eagle as well. Yeah.
I don't know. I just when I think of these things, it makes me think of precision and like I think I roll back to when uh, someone said, what is it for us to learn during these darker months and cooler months and into the spring?" And I think of like the bird with its eyes having great vision and seeing its prey for the next season and kind of like slowly swooping down, making its way toward the warm season, preparing for the warm season, um, and just planning. And what we can do during this time period is, if we can't enjoy the space outside or anything or whatever, that we can at least plan. Right? Or maybe I'm internalizing it and thinking I'm in the planning phase for hopefully a better spring or something. I don't know. So those things pop up for me. But when I first started the journey, I was arguing with myself, like, stop making it about yourself. So I fret to go toward myself, but I was like, I'm getting thoughts about myself and stuff in it, and trying to fight with that, and I think that's what made it not flow as well, because then I could have amalgamated into something else, and I could have let it flow, but those are the thoughts in my head. I'm done.
That's very helpful to hear that interpretation. I asked right before you spoke for an understanding from spirit of exactly what in this moment that might have meant, and then you spoke. And just as a little word of support, everything is about ourselves, honestly, right? It's only our perspective. So it's okay if it's about yourself, because especially in this space, what you share, even if it's about yourself, definitely extends to everybody else. So feel free to do what you need to do to be able to share.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm as you were speaking, I was seeing little bits of water, like, and it's like the water was trying to move, but it kept hitting these little bits of frozen like pieces of ice that were starting to form along the river. and kind of drifting. And I was getting the sense of the eagle, like it's almost like I could taste fish or something. It was really weird. That sort of metallic-y taste sometimes that like you can get from sushi or something. I almost feel like there was something about the bird's like desire for like fish or, you know, and that was being like intermittent with a sort of like seeing a tree trunk that was like in a diagram perspective, and I could see this sort of pile of like dead fish in the tree trunks, and there was like pine needles laid down. And I know that this isn't something that you would see with a bald eagle, but I could just see the fish being piled up in the tree.
I felt, as you were speaking, I felt Yeshua energy with that. Specifically, literally, because of the mention of fish. And, fish is associated with Yeshua and the sign of fish. And Catholics often have fish on their cars. And I don't know, I felt that energy somehow. And then also the idea of the two species as one in some way. The fish in a nest on the top of a tree, just like a bird, and the bird on the ground eating the fish, this cycle of life and this oneness between them. I'm done.
Keep seeing various animals come through. There's definitely various birds. I saw the eagle. I see blackbirds. But I keep seeing a horse, and it zooms into the horse's eye. And the birds are kind of surrounding the horse in a positive way. And a cat keeps coming in. That's all for now. My visions are just, everything is coming so fast, so it's hard for me to even keep up to. I'm writing them down so I can finally say them to you, but lots of animals, birds, sunlight. That's all for now.
So I'm seeing something, and definitely Todd also having the same kind of feeling, right? Of like, oh, it's getting personal, but again, I know it's also for collective. But what I'm seeing is there's this castle that I journey to many, many times. It's in this countryside. It's usually when I journey there, it is winter and completely covered in snow, but it's this castle that's just grand and beautiful, but in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. And when I first got there, I'm seeing that it's nighttime, and whoever was in the castle celebrating the holidays, I'm seeing women like singing through the halls and putting Christmas lights up. And then all of a sudden, I was drawn outside again, and I was hearing thunder, and then I saw lightning. And I got a little caught up for a second because I'm like, okay, I wasn't getting anything after that. I'm like, nothing in the house. The lightning was only in this one spot. And I was sitting here for a while trying to figure out, like, what Spirit was trying to say. And I realized that the scene was actually frozen. The lightning hadn't gone. It came, and the lightning bolt, I was just seeing, but it never went away. And then I went back to the house, and I realized that the girls weren't moving. And so then I realized the whole scene was just frozen. And what Spirit was saying was this, specifically for me, I'm feeling this like, how do we get out of this state of fight or flight? or freeze, right? And this is something I've been working on personally, but what spirit brought through is that there is a place and time to be frozen. And it doesn't have to be scary or negative or anything, but it's not about being frozen in the fear. It's about being still, being frozen in stillness and being able to just hold that stillness without the fear. And the next thing I started seeing was kind of from the forest, this queen very, very vividly. I mean, I can see her so clear. I could hear her footsteps through the snow. She started walking towards me, and I came down to her level and I said, who are you? Why you're here? She hasn't given me a name. I kind of jokingly said to her, "Are you the Ice Queen?" um, but she came, and she is beautiful. She is maybe 5'7". She has long, blonde, wavy, very wavy, almost curled hair. And she's wearing this white fur jacket. And it's interesting. She's like very sexy. It's like the fur jacket is like half off of her left shoulder. And she's just coming through with this beautiful, powerful, feminine energy. And she bent down and she put a pomegranate in the snow. And it was like the pomegranate had been cut or something because I could see the inside. But she put it down into the snow. And I want to sit with this, what she's doing for a little bit more. But what I was feeling for a second is that somehow the pomegranate juice is representing blood and some kind of offering. Even though she's doing this in front of me, I feel like it's more like something that could be offered to her. But so I saw her set that down, and then as soon as the pomegranate hit the snow, I hit the ground, and I just completely fell right over. My head landed next to the pomegranate. And then what she did, I'm lying on my right side, and then kind of almost in the fetal position, but I started seeing her putting needles, like acupuncture needles, a little bit thicker than that, I feel like. But she started at my feet and she went up my body and she put quite a few needles in there. And I feel like this is somehow releasing a bit. And what I find very interesting about this is, there's people that say many different things, that the right side is feminine or the left side is feminine. But for me personally, in my journey over the past few years, the left side has been masculine for me. And I think it's interesting that I'm seeing a woman come and put acupuncture needles in me to release what I would call the masculine. So it's that like balance of feminine, masculine. But she's doing some kind of releasing on that side of the masculine in the collective body, anything that's been trapped. And that is all for now.
Keep hearing the Blackbird song by the Beatles. And specifically Blackbird singing in the dead of night. And take the broken wings and learn to fly.
I'm getting information as you were talking, Jacqueline. I'll circle back around to the pomegranate because that came up for me. Michelle, I think it's interesting that you're hearing that song because I'm getting information surrounding you and the horse come through right now. I'm seeing you riding a horse and it's a very mountainous terrain. And I feel like there's almost like kind of cowboy vibes going on. It feels like it's someplace very open and mountainous, and I'm feeling like it's a connection to Montana or somewhere out west. And I don't know if this is you here and now or if this is some other incarnation I'm seeing coming through, but you're riding up into the mountain and you're gathering pine cones in this basket that's hanging off the side of the horse. Like you're stop, get off, pick pine cones up, put them in. And then I'm getting the feeling of you like going back down the mountain, and it's a very light dusting of snow. So I feel like it's early in the winter season. It's probably around the time it is now. And it's feeling of it being very cold, and like the sort of the feeling of the cold being on your face. And when you come back, you're creating using these pine cones some sort of, it's like some sort of honey sappy mixture that you're dipping in the pine cones, and then you're putting a bunch of seeds on the pine cones. And one of the things along with seeds, I'm feeling like there's seeds that came out of some sort of squash or something, but there's pomegranates that are going in there. And this is some sort of thing that was put out as for the birds to eat from. The birds would come and eat from in the winter. Um, and I feel like this is saying something about how you're working with people, or how your intuitive gifts are coming forward, or something about you doing the gathering and assembling of things and then offering it out to people or animals, or I don't know, it just feels like there's something about like the process of gathering the supplies needed, the creation of something, and then the leaving of the sort of offering. Feels like something threefold, like the number 3 is coming in around this for you. And the song that you brought up, the Blackbird song, feels like it goes so perfectly for what I'm seeing. Like it could be the soundtrack for it or something. And that is such a beautiful song.
I'm digesting everything you're saying. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think there's a lot in there.
I think so too. I'm working it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I felt a real level of comfort with the woman that the feminine energy that came through that Jacqueline mentioned. Just this being arriving home or something with in association with her. It was kind of fleeting, but I did feel that. That's all.
It's interesting you say that, Kristen, this sense of coming home, because I didn't pick up on it, but as soon as you said it, it really resonates. I feel like she was in that forest, and it's a dark forest. I feel like she's been in there for a while, and maybe this is her coming home to the castle. Thank you.
It's kind of struck me when you said that like everyone was frozen, Jacqueline. And like, nobody was moving, but that you were getting a message of like trying to like be still and that that's okay. It's kind of like ironic because I've been trying to work on like meditation and like um becoming more still and doing like all that kind of thing, but I found it like really so difficult. So it's just really interesting that you said that because that kind of struck me. Like I felt like, oh wow, like that's so coincidental. But that was, so it was just like a thought. That was all though.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, Jacqueline, as you were talking, I'm getting the feeling of this sort of like switch up of like I'm seeing something that it's not a snow globe, it's more one of those timers that has this sort of white stuff that drifts through it. And I'm seeing it being flipped right now for you. And it's almost like the idea of something switching up. So your idea of what home or heart or hearth or means is getting like twisted in your head because the perspective's changing for you like that. So it almost feels like if where you are now is quote unquote home, that there's a new form of what home means that's entering in for you right now. And this is both literal here and also like a metaphorical sort of like I think it's connected in with a lot of things. You know, and I think what the bee is trying to say too, that we were talking about earlier, and I'm almost getting that sense of that switch up. So it's almost like this like weird timer sort of thing that measures time that's also a snow globe that this queen of the forest is kind of flipping for you or bringing to light that is being flipped for you. And I think what she's saying is if the home was always in the castle, it's now in the forest.
Mhm. Thank you.
I just got an image of an hourglass, like when you were talking. So thought I'd share that.
That
That's
was the
very
word I was
beautiful.
looking for. My brain wasn't working. It couldn't get there.
It feels like generally everything that's come through has somehow, in some way, definitely feels very wintry, very hibernated and frozen, like Jacqueline said, and there's this aspect of waiting, of preparing, like Todd said, of being in time and just allowing things to play out as they play out and feeling comfort in the energies that are present through that. And it does feel like there's a enormous divine feminine presence that's associated with these messages as well, specifically the energy that Jacqueline acknowledged. So it just feels like just feels this frozen, but not frozen in the way that we tend to think of frozen, not frozen as in uncomfortably unable to move, but more suspended for now. There's an aspect of being suspended in time and watching as time moves around us. And maybe the message is in there somewhere. That's it.
I think of moments of impatience too for me. Like there's this time is not passing as far as things happening in the areas we want them to, but and there's a level of impatience, but still at the same time you're sitting with the impatience and experiencing it, but realizing that it just requires getting through the winter. And in my life, I think like what was coming up was kind of like impatient, like kind of like getting out there and doing things in the wild, you know, off meetup and in meetup, but on in the physical world meetup, and doing more of that and not doing it and coexisting with some things going on with me right now, and being able to not make moves because there's other things that are linearly next, but seem to be a vision of them all clearing up by spring. So that's why I have patience to some degree, but moments of impatience, just wishing it would be sooner than spring. So, but it's kind of like, how do you have patience and impatience at the same time? But it's something like patience that you know it's coming, and impatience that you wish it was a little bit quicker. And a dream I had many years ago, where I was just around all these great friends. Like all my life, I've never found my, like the bee people, like in the Blind Melon song. And by the way, when someone said that song, what came up for me was "Time is on my side," some song like that. "Time is on our side" or something, which is which I think might be the same band, or is an '80s rock band. But I think scroll moment there. But basically, I think it'll all work out for me at least, and I assume just this wintry period, we can see it working out. We just want to do it quicker, and it's our time to work on these things to feel our way through it, and to that morning sun, or that clenching of the fish, the dream. So the dream was this dream where I felt really comfortable with these people, and it was like resonating like extremely strongly with everyone, and it was just like a real great group of friends. Not like when I was younger, when I had a great group of friends, but it was more